So with Mizzou's undefeated season on the line, clinging to a 28-26 lead at Georgia with the Bulldogs with all the momentum, and Missouri's quarterback and leader, senior James Franklin, on the sideline with a separated shoulder deep in the fourth quarter, and again, all the momentum on the Dogs' side, who did the Tigers turn to throw the game-deciding touchdown pass? A wide receiver, of course, Bud Sasser on the wide receiver lateral, and he threw it downfield to LaDainian Washington, who spirited away from Damian Swan. The game-winning touchdown pass to seal this victory, a huge one for Missouri, the largest, the biggest one that they've had since joining the SEC, certainly. MarkRogersTV and ProFootballCentral.com on this win for Missouri and what it means for the Tigers, and the second loss of the season, the first in the SEC for Georgia, and possibly how the Bulldogs could recover from this and still be a factor in the SEC East. So for Missouri, as we go through our game notes here, yes, they get the touchdown pass there. Then they pick off Aaron Murray and convert that for the game, securing score, a little insurance late to win at 41-26. Mizzou came out, dominated the first half, led at 28-10. Georgia's defense somehow came out of the locker room completely on fire, completely different attitude, different mentality, penetration in the backfield almost every play, getting pressure on Franklin, storming to the football, gang tackling, not missing tackles, and Georgia came back to get within 28-26, went for the two-point conversion, did not get it, still had plenty of time at 28-26, and like we said, all the momentum. Then Mizzou kicked it into gear, got the big play. After Franklin was taken out of the game, they went to the trick play to get the touchdown. Very good call there by Kerry Pinkle to kind of fight the momentum there, thinking, okay, we're bringing in the true freshman, Matey Mock. Is he going to be able to throw the football right out of the gate with Georgia's defense on a roll? He came up with a trick play, and it worked, and Washington made an exceptional catch in the end zone for the 40-yard touchdown. And again, they got the pick and the next touchdown to secure the win. So Mizzou's now 6-0, get their first road win over a top 10 team since 1981. We'd like to run down what Mizzou has coming up. And of course, the major storyline for this team, in addition to being undefeated at this stage of the season for the first time since 2010, actually just a few years ago, is that, first of all, they've got a defense that can play SEC-style football. They've got Michael Sam, the senior, who's leading the SEC in both tackles for loss and sacks. He's a man. Also, defensive lineman Harold Brantley, just a freshman. We saw some glimpses of his play and how good he can be someday. Right now, he's got 3 tackles for loss. And one of the top cover corners in the country, in E.J. Gaines, who leads the SEC with 3 interceptions. Okay, the story for Georgia is all the injuries. And this team is hobbled on offense like just about nothing we've seen in recent times, for sure. We've talked about it going back to the Tennessee game in overtime that the Bulldogs squeaked by the Vols, and then all the injuries hit. Gurley was already hurt at running back, possibly the best running back in the country. Todd Gurley should be back soon, but he missed this entire game. Keith Marshall, his backup, probably the best backup in the country and one of the top 20 to 25 running backs in college football, out for the season. 3 of the Dogs' top 4 receivers out. So Aaron Murray had the type of challenge that he has yet to see in college football. Think about that. Probably his top 5 weapons out. He was looking all over the place for somebody that he could trust to share the offensive burden with. You've got J.J. Green, who stepped up against Tennessee, ran for $129 in that game. He looked good again against Missouri, rushing 12 times for 87 yards. Brendan Douglas, the big fullback. Boy, he runs hard. Not a lot of speed and quickness, but will run north and south. Ran it 14 times for 70 yards in this football game. Defensively for Georgia, they looked horrible in the first half. Came on in the second half, like we said. They were getting penetration in the backfield, were swarming to the football, were on a roll, and then they got hit with the trick play, the gadget play that took them by surprise. Damian Swan is really struggling to cover receivers. He was an exceptional defensive back for the Georgia Bulldogs over the past 2 years, got hit a couple times during this game with some big plays. Although he still is a force in the run game and still comes up and hits people. Georgia, it's going to be interesting to see how they possibly recover from this. Murray's working with a lot of receivers and offensive players that he's not accustomed to working with. They do not work with a first-team offense, and he's had to break them in rather quickly. So the team that looked to be the main threat to the Alabama Crimson Tide in the SEC, the Georgia Bulldogs, are definitely hobbling, but Mark Richt is making no excuses. For Missouri, it's all right there for them. They take on Florida next week with possibly James Franklin out of the lineup. Mady Mock, who came in, the true freshman, and hit on 3 short passes, 3 for 3 for 23 yards, would be the starter in that football game against one of the best defenses in the country. The Gators losing today to LSU 17-6. We would love to hear from you, whether you're a Missouri fan or a Georgia fan, SEC football fan, college football fan, whatever it is. If you've got a take on Mizzou's situation, on Georgia's situation, certainly chime in because this is definitely all of a sudden become a very interesting race in the SEC Eastern Division. Talk to us right here on Mark Rogers TV and ProFootballCentral.com.